Tidying up his sequined suit, Xie Junping sighed, if we can't find him, then let's not look for him. It might not be reasonable to deal with him directly. Let's use a roundabout way to save the country. Let's go find the master first and use him as a middleman. Xue Lei didn't understand. What's the host of the 5 schools fellowship? Somebody has to provide the space. In Ocean Sky Cloud City, the Yao family is a major shareholder. Their family's 4th young master, Yao Feng, is in Cloud City's business school. Today, he booked the entire 3rd level of the platform. Xie Junping explained a few words, then grinned and said, the Yao family used to be on the road, and they also traveled by sea. Their hands are quite unscrupulous, but Yao Feng is a good person. What's even better is that his family seems to be related to Tang Yi. You have a stake in it, right? Hu Huaying corrected. There's even a rumor that he's a mistress of his grandfather. Anyway, he has a bit of a friendship with him. Xie Junping's voice lowered a bit. It was more or less taboo. He immediately shifted his gaze to a different angle. I say that the key lies with Leicester this time. Xue Lei blinked his eyes and pointed at his own nose. Me? That's you. Xie Junping reached out and wrapped his arm around Xue Lei's thick shoulders. He gave Xue Lei face to face and said, Yao Feng is a very fanatical fighter. Of course he has high standards but low ability. But when we talk about some professional stuff, the results will certainly be quite good. Hu Huaying added, Tang Yi is a fighter herself. Many people say this. Xie Junping made the decision. So today, we'll start with martial arts. Leicester, we're relying on you. This is fine. How about we stop talking about it? Xue Lei was far more cheerful than Luo Nan, but the 2 brothers were more or less the same when it came to dealing with people. Xue Lei thought of the burden on his shoulders and felt a bit apprehensive for a time. Xie Junping never expected that this big and tall brother would actually want to run away at the last minute. He was exasperated at Xue Lei's failure to meet his expectations. What the hell are you nervous about? This is a social party. It's actually very simple on the student level. It's nothing more than finding an excuse to relax. The venue, the drinks, the beauties, the handsome men, and the unspeakable things. Are you afraid that Tang Yi will take a fancy to you? So what if she takes a fancy to you? Don't tell me you're training in the virgin arts. You're the one who's training in the virgin arts. Xue Lei's voice rose by a notch, but then he felt weak. You guys are all playing this crazy. Everyone has their own choices. Only by participating in these kinds of activities can you find your position. You know who you can cooperate with in the future. You know who you can use. You know who you can sell. He's the youngest high-level instructor of the Thunder Falcon Dojo. He should be in the same circle as Xue Lei. It's a good opportunity to get closer. We'll interact in a bit. Maybe we'll even work together. Feng Jiejun was only in his early 20s. He was older than Xue Lei by 5 or 6 years, but he was already very young. Compared to Xue Lei, he was a bit thinner and a bit more handsome. He was the type that was very popular with girls. Xue Lei. He should be a rising star in the circle. Let's get to know each other. Chapter 292. Feng Jiejun's eyelids drooped slightly, but the smile on his face became much clearer. Coach Xue. Xue Lei said modestly, not at all. I'm at most an assistant instructor in the dojo. I haven't finished my apprenticeship yet. Is that so? Which dojo is it? Xue Lei wouldn't let go of any opportunity to make the dojo famous. He immediately enunciated clearly, Riverwu District, Divine Yu Dojo. The dojo master's family is surnamed Shou. Feng Jiejun grinned, revealing a mouthful of white teeth. I've heard a lot about you. Lei was startled and then delighted. Coach Feng, you know our dojo master. Of course I know him. He's a divine fish, after all. He's famous. The word fish was especially long. No matter how straightforward Lei was, he still felt something was wrong. He looked again at Feng Jiejun, who was smiling and extending his hand. We should also get to know each other. In the martial arts circle, shaking hands wasn't a good thing. Want to shake hands? Lei hesitated slightly, but seeing the other party's resolute attitude, he curled his lips and also extended his hand. The two shook hands. He then heard Feng Jiejun continue, I've heard of Dojo Master Xiu's great name for a long time. After all, it's rare to see someone who can open a fish dojo in Bosshan building for 10 years. It's said that he'll be moving soon. Feng Jiejun wanted to display his relaxed attitude and speak fluently, but at the last moment, he suddenly choked. Lei raised his thick eyebrows. A teeth-numbing screeching sound came from where the two shook hands. Then there was a light explosion, like a slightly deflated balloon being burst. At this moment, Feng Jiejun's palm was like a spirit snake. He withdrew from Lei's 5 fingers, but his body unconsciously leaned back, stiffening for a moment before straightening again. He lowered his head to look at his own palm. His expression darkened, and the corner of his mouth twitched before recovering his smile. Your strength is polished quite well. Oh. Enemies meet on a narrow road. He Donglu sat up a bit and withdrew his arm from the back of the sofa. His palms banged against his abdomen, and he even rubbed them a couple of times. He had the attitude of watching a good show. What you said wasn't wrong, but was it really good to say it directly? Even Xia Junping had to concede defeat to He Donglu's silkpants ability. He thought to himself, if I don't drink and take pills, I'm afraid I won't be able to beat him. Yao Feng felt that he had suffered an unexpected disaster, but he couldn't vent his anger. He could only rack his brains to persuade him, it's common sense to spar in martial arts, but if you come too early, the later programs will be boring. Young Master He. You're right. He Donglu readily accepted advice. He appeared to be quite easy to talk to, but once he opened his mouth, it was somewhat like his words were made of gold and jade. Feng Jiejun had mentioned words like 10 years and moving away when he was talking to Lei. Luo Nan compared this to the information revealed in the conversation, and the situation became clearer. Lei spat. The Daoguan is about to move away before coming. What were you doing 10 years ago? This won't do. Nanster, I'm going to make a call. Contact the gym master. Yes. The gym master never mentions these things, but he's about to provoke us. We can't muddle through it. Luo Nan stared at him. Be patient when you ask. Tell me later. Lei nodded. He found a secluded place and contacted the Daoguan. Since Xiu Xinyu usually didn't carry electronic devices, the call was a bit more troublesome. Luo Nan looked at Lei's actions and subconsciously shook his head. I might not be able to get the answer. I need to go through other channels. From Luo Nan's understanding of Gym Master Xiu was truly a man of few words. As long as Gym Master Xiu didn't want to talk, no matter how Lei pestered him, Gym Master Xiu wouldn't get any answers. Luo Nan wanted to find more channels to gather information in order to prevent the Gym Master from being stubborn. His best choice in Xia City was undoubtedly the Explorer Society. The society was able to absorb a powerful martial artist like Mr. Giant Arm. Presumably, the society should have a good understanding of the matters of the circle. Luo Nan pressed his earlobe out of habit. He had just logged onto the psychic wave network, but he was unable to find anyone. A small portion of the deep blue light in the environment was suddenly blocked by shadows. The remaining light shook violently. Some sort of oppressive factor caused the nearby people to instinctively turn their heads. Their gazes turned in the direction of the central crystal pillar. An enormous and flat ferocious monster with a diameter of over 15 meters could be seen near the inner wall of the crystal pillar. It was like an aircraft gliding at high speed. In the blink of an eye, it crossed dozens of meters of water. It rushed to the edge of the crystal pillar and fiercely collided with it. Its momentum was astonishing. The collision momentum of such an enormous monster was enough to shake one's soul, even though they were separated by the crystal wall. Some of the partygoers had been sticking close to the crystal pillar to enjoy the beautiful scenery of the seabed. Who would have thought that the scene would suddenly change? They instinctively cried out in fear and retreated in panic. There were even some unlucky souls who tripped and fell on their butts, making a fool of themselves. The monster, which looked more like a bat than a fish, suddenly rose up when it saw that it was about to collide head-on. Its deathly pale belly practically stuck to the inner wall of the crystal pillar as it climbed up at high speed. Halfway through his words, he saw that Luo Nan and the others were looking behind him. He immediately turned around and saw Yao Feng with an ugly expression. Xie Junping didn't feel embarrassed at all. He just laughed and said, "What's wrong? The young master of the He family isn't going to serve you anymore." Yao Feng instinctively shot a glance behind him when he heard this, but he felt that his actions were too embarrassing. He waved his hand and laughed bitterly. "I won't be serving you for now. I'll hide for now. Rely on the mountain to survive. Rely on the sea to survive. You guys are a black-hearted drug dealer and a large farm owner. We don't need to pay attention to you guys, but we make a living on the sea. How can we bypass the coastal defense forces? Bypass this family? We have to curry favor with them." Chapter 293. Oh, which one? Luo Nan's mind turned, but he saw a number he had never seen before. He was inevitably surprised. Just as he was about to answer the call, he suddenly felt that something was wrong. He switched to the settings interface, and sure enough, he had already set the restricted communication mode. In this mode, other than the people he had added to his contact list, no one else could communicate with him. They could only leave messages. The reason for this was Yuan's suggestion. It was said that it could minimize distractions and focus on cultivation. So the question was, how did this number get in? Luo Nan was also curious as to who was talking to him. He was just about to connect when the other party's communication request was cut off. He waited for a while, but there was no follow-up. When he called back, the system showed, "Contact is limited, please leave a message." Alright, what's with this kind of low-level malfunction? It had been more than 10 days, and the debugging of the psychic wave network still hadn't ended. Luo Nan shook his head and cast this matter aside for now. He shifted the focus of his attention back to Divine Yu Jim. Obviously, Luo Nan needed to find people in the circle to understand the grudges and grievances of the martial artist circle in Xia City. But Luo Nan filtered through the people he knew in the society, and he only remembered Giant Arm. It was still a situation where he knew the other party, but the other party might not know him. Then he could only find someone close to him. Crag Burst seemed to be the most suitable. That person came from the military, but he was one of the top 10 powerhouses in Xia City in terms of physical strength. He also had a lively temperament. He should have a common language with the martial artist circle. Luo Nan organized his words in his mind and sent a communication request to Crag Burst. Unexpectedly, the system was still as cold as ever. The other party's communication is restricted. Please leave a message. Luo Nan could conclude that there was indeed a problem with the psychic wave network. He couldn't help but scratch his head. He was used to the convenience of the psychic wave network, and the members of the association would rarely record their wristband communication numbers, and he was no exception. Now, he had lost contact with all of them. He could only wait. At this time, the second generations were still hurting each other. Yao Feng poured out a pile of grievances, but Xie Junping was completely uninterested. He only asked what he was concerned about. Hey, that's a mutant. You placed it here. Don't tell me you messed around with Ocean Sky Cloud City and then bought it from other shareholders at a low price. Hey, you can't talk nonsense about this kind of thing. Yao Feng's face turned green. He wished he could cover Xie Junping's mouth. Unfortunately, he couldn't cover it up. He could only grit his teeth and explain, it's a client. He's also a distant relative of my mother's. He loves collecting mutants and was willing to spend a lot of money to order one. It wasn't easy to get it for him, but who knew that he would die from overexcitement while watching the underground boxing match? It's not suitable to put it back in the sea, so I can only leave it here. I've been having a headache these past few days because of this thing. Who are you trying to fool? Xie Junping wasn't fooled. In your Yao family, it's not easy to find cooking utensils, and there are ponds all over the place for fish. Is there a need to place them here to spoil the simulated ecosphere that you've painstakingly built? This is all business. Hey, Yao Si, are you sure you don't have any way to make money that you want to share? Xie Junping giggled mischievously as he held on to Yao Feng's shoulder. He stole a wink at Luo Nan. Since Yao Feng took the initiative to deliver himself to Luo Nan, there was absolutely no reason to let him go. This time, Xie Junping was going to keep a close eye on this predetermined middleman. He was going to establish a connection with Tang Yi through him, and Hu Huaying was on the sidelines. The two cooperated with great rapport. Luo Nan could only watch from the sidelines. He stayed for a long time and listened to all the twists and turns. He felt that it was quite boring, and Xue Lei was still on the phone with the Daguan. His feet were pacing endlessly. It seemed that things weren't going too smoothly. Luo Nan stood silently for a moment, then his gaze turned to the simulated marine ecosystem behind him, which had just experienced an attack. After the monster fish wreaked havoc on this side, it fled into the depths of the crystal pillar. It had long since disappeared without a trace. However, even though a considerable amount of time had passed, the monster fish's power still lingered. Many schools of fish that were swimming leisurely were intimidated by an incorporeal pressure when they approached this area. They scattered and fled one after another. Beautiful purples and reds blossomed within the deep blue light. There was a different kind of marvelous beauty to it. Luo Nan calmly watched these chaotic schools of fish. Light swirled in his eyes, but he didn't open his eyes orifice to cultivate. He just did a few rough experiences. His feet slowly moved with the school of fish during this process. He was already quite a distance away from Xie Junping and the others by the time he came to his senses. He didn't care. In any case, he was communicating with Yao Feng right now. It wasn't his turn to appear. And as long as he wanted to, the entire party area was within the range of his clairvoyance. He wouldn't get lost. He tried to communicate with the psychic wave network, but it still hadn't recovered. He didn't think too much about it. He strolled forward along the viewing platform, stopping every now and then. Tianxi replied with a smile, I've always been in the Design Institute. Although I'm currently focused on industrial design, I did pursue some art in my early years. How is it? Not bad. It's a good match. Luo Nan's words came from the bottom of his heart, but he had no intention of starting a conversation. He was currently in a restless state of mind. He said a few words out of courtesy and wanted to leave. Tianxi pursed her lips into a smile. She had the posture of having a long conversation. Junior brother Luo's attire is a bit strange. Luo Nan couldn't just ignore her words. He asked honestly, what's strange about it? I just feel that junior brother Luo shouldn't be a doctor. It's purely a feeling. Tianxi's fingers playfully drew 2 circles around her temples. Then she pointed at the notebook that had just been delivered to Luo Nan's crook. There's also this tool. It's a bit out of place. Luo Nan simply answered, I carry it with me. I'm used to it. Luo Nan felt that it was truly strange for Tian-Si to blurt out such meaningless words. The relationship between the two was superficial. Even if Tian-Si wanted to find someone to chat with, she shouldn't have chosen him. Luo Nan's mind sensed something as soon as his thoughts reached this point. He focused his mind a bit and saw a young man in his early 20s behind Luo Nan. The young man's attire was basically similar to Luo Nan's. He was a doctor character with a tall and straight figure and a handsome appearance. However, the gaze that was cast in Luo Nan's direction was a bit unfriendly. Tian-Si should be able to see this person from her angle, but she just acted as if she didn't know. She chatted with Luo Nan with a smile. Luo Nan looked at the expression and movements of the young doctor. He had more or less guessed what was going on. He shook his head in his mind. Tian-Si leaned over. Was she expecting him to attract the firepower? None of the people who could participate in the 5 schools fellowship party were easy to deal with. He was young and not tall, so it would be a waste to use him as a shield. Just as he was pondering how to expose her, he heard Tian-Si praise lightly, I took a second look just now. Junior brother Luo's foundation in drawing lines is very solid. 3 years later, if I can enter the School of Design and inherit my family's teachings, it will definitely be a story to be told. Homeschool. Luo Nan's mind trembled. His original thoughts scattered in an instant, leaving behind only chaotic emotions. He didn't know how to respond for a time. Tian-Si put her hands together and made an apologetic gesture. I'm sorry, Junior Brother Luo. I found it very strange last time at Frost River Reality. You were the only one with a different surname among the group of Mo family youngsters, so I asked Mo Chio a question. Then I heard Tian-Chi mention a few things about you that were circulating in their society. I was curious for a moment, so I looked up some information. Only then did I find out that you are the child of Senior Zhongheng and Senior Sister Qingwen. Yes, Luo Nan's parents had indeed studied at the school's School of Design. Tian-Si's words about homeschool were completely correct. Tian-Si took a step forward, her attitude becoming more intimate. Actually, I've been looking for an opportunity to thank you for the past few days. Luo Nan's mind was a bit numb. What? Some time ago, I wanted to choose a topic for my graduation project. I also wanted to apply to be Professor Pan Wen's graduate student, but I rejected several topics in a row. Tian-Si cast her gaze on Luo Nan's face. She spoke softly, I really had no choice. Junior brother's matter just so happened to give me inspiration. I used Senior Sister Qingwen's coupling design theory from back in the day to do a new research topic. Chapter 294. Luo Nan's mood was indescribable in a short dozen or so seconds. Tian-Si spoke of matters that were closely related to his family, but the information, the names, and the concepts were all so unfamiliar. It was like he was in a dream. He strove to merge into it, but he was always lacking a bit. He could only do his utmost to memorize, afraid of missing a single word. He would completely dissipate when he woke up from the dream. He waited for Tian-Si to stop talking, but he still wanted to continue. He subconsciously reached out and touched the protective glass between the viewing platform and the crystal pillar. He used the ice-cold sensation to make his mind a bit clearer, and he confirmed that Tian-Si's words just now were not forgotten in the slightest. Perhaps his reaction was strange, but Tian-Si was a bit puzzled. Junior Nan. Luo Nan really wanted to tell her, tell me a bit more, but the words changed when they reached his mouth. They graduated 20 years ago, right? Senior Sister Tian actually knows about them. Tian-Si's eyelids drooped slightly, and she revealed a gentle smile. After all, many years have passed. It would be a lie to say that I have a deep impression of them. But as long as I look up some information, many things will appear before my eyes. However, I've heard that when it comes to architectural philosophy and aesthetics, some old professors will always use gear as an example. Senior Sister Qingwen's name has always resounded. Luo Nan forced a smile. Is that so? In comparison, I admire Senior Zhongheng more. After all, I study industrial design, and Senior Zhongheng's theoretical knowledge is a bit stronger. Many of his research conclusions aren't outdated even now, including some conceptual product designs. They can be used at any time, saving me quite a bit of effort. Tianxi had clearly studied the information diligently. She spoke without thinking, and there was evidence to support her words. But what made Luo Nan feel awkward was that the more she spoke like this, the more confused he became. He didn't even know how to respond. His hesitation caused a gap to appear in the atmosphere of a coherent conversation. This gave a certain person an opportunity. Cece. The young doctor who had been observing from the back all this time walked over with quick steps. His movements were very urgent, and he rudely stood between Luo Nan and Tianxi, using his shoulder to block Luo Nan's line of sight. Cece, you made it easy for me to find you. Luo Nan's brows furrowed. His fingers pressed against the protective glass. He had a bad feeling. He roughly understood why Tianxi could not wait to avoid this rather handsome, young doctor. Such a temperament and behavior were a waste of his good looks. Even the elites of the 5 schools were so unreliable. Luo Nan's mood turned very bad. Luo Nan sighed when he thought of this. He faintly felt that this was quite similar to the difficult problem he was facing in his cultivation. However, his brain had long since been divided into 2 halves when he delved deeper into it. He was unable to think of anything, and his mood became even worse. He didn't want to beat around the bush in his vexation. He was prepared to go straight to the point and ask this senior sister to tell him everything she knew. Tianxi found a new connection point amidst her sorrow at this time. She suddenly turned her face around, and her delicate and charming face recovered its usual smile. Chapter 295. Tianxi pointed at the crystal pillar in front of her. She slowly said, the core design concept of Ocean Sky Cloud City is to facilitate the close integration of the ocean system and the building system. Dynamics, data, ecology, and other elements are effectively connected. This is also an important part of Senior Sister Qingwen's coupling design. Luo Nan's gaze cut across the crystal pillar and the complex structure of the building. He used his mental senses to observe more specifically, but the more he did so, the more confused he became. He didn't know what to say next. The question he wanted to ask the most right now was, what is coupling design? Tianxi didn't understand Luo Nan's current predicament. Her smile grew more natural and intimate after she spoke. She clasped her hands together and made a praying gesture. Junior brother Luo, may I be so bold as to ask if your family has any information left behind by the 2 seniors? I want to make a copy for reference. Of course, I will pay great attention to intellectual property. Luo Nan gaped. At this very moment, a bit of face was not worth mentioning in the face of his intense thirst. He turned to the side and stared at Tianxi. Senior Sister Tian, my mother passed away early. She separated from my father a long time ago. There is practically no information about them at home. Tianxi went, so it's like this. Sorry, I thought. Luo Nan interrupted her before she could finish speaking. He spoke urgently, Senior Sister, can you give me a copy of the information you collected? I really need it. I really do. Tianxi suddenly understood what Zhu Maoxuan was feeling when she was enveloped by Luo Nan's gaze. Luo Nan's eyes were a mess of color under the deep blue light, but there was an indescribable pressure that penetrated her. It was as if a layer of raging flames had burned through her eyes and heart. It made her want to close her eyes in haste, and her heartbeat sped up. Tian-Si was a member of the Mutual Assistance Association. Her ability to express herself had always been her forte. But right now, her ability to express herself, which represented logic and reason, vanished like smoke in the blink of an eye as she faced Luo Nan's eyes. Instead, the emotions she had successfully suppressed all this time intertwined and tangled in her mind. She was a bit stupefied for a time. Only with great difficulty did a thought emerge. They really are alike. Sure enough, they are the same type of people. Luo Nan and that person's figures overlapped, bursting with sparks. Tian-Si's mind trembled heavily. She unconsciously took a step back. Senior Sister Tian. Luo Nan didn't quite understand Tian-Si's reaction. Wait a moment. Tian-Si's condition finally recovered a bit, but her throat was still a bit tight and dry. She lowered her head, not daring to look Luo Nan in the eye. She was afraid that her soul would fly out of her body if she took another glance. She lowered her head and fiddled with her wristband. She closed her eyes, adjusted her breathing, and sorted out her emotions. 3 seconds later, she began to operate and brought up a series of data that she had saved in advance. It was originally your parents' information. If junior brother wants it, it's just a matter of asking. Tian-Si raised her head and forced a smile. I'll share the information I've stored in the cloud with you. Most of it comes from the Academy's electronic library, and some of it requires a certain level of authority. You might not have it now, but you should be able to access it in advance if you look for Department Head Xia. Luo Nan clasped his hands together and expressed his thanks over and over. Thank you, Senior Sister Tian. Thank you. Tian-Si knew from this that Luo Nan wasn't able to see anything deeper. She let out a breath of relief, and her mind became a bit more lively. She pulled out a blueprint that Luo Nan was currently unable to see and set it into projection mode. Due to the large interference from the deep blue light in the vicinity of the crystal pillar, Tian-Si took out a drawing clip and used it as a cover, allowing Luo Nan to clearly see the diagram displayed within. Even so, the area of clarity was relatively limited. Luo Nan unconsciously moved closer and stood shoulder to shoulder with Tian-Si. They leaned their heads against each other as they watched earnestly. This is the tender that the designer of Cloud City Water Village submitted in the year 82. Look here. The company's technical consultant is none other than Professor Pan Wen. According to what she said, she originally wanted to lead a team in the bid to verify Senior Sister Qingwen's theory. Unfortunately, it wasn't particularly successful. She still holds this regret to this day. Tian-Si fiddled with the AR image, causing the three-dimensional perspective of Ocean Sky Cloud City's initial design to display the complex and precise structure from every angle as much as possible. Professor Pan said that though Ocean Sky Cloud City merged with the ocean system, its craftsmanship was too heavy. It could only be used as a weight to be unconventional and unconventional. It wasn't successful in terms of construction theory. It was far inferior to gear, which was as if it was formed by nature. There were practically no traces of craftsmanship. Luo Nan listened with pride and sadness. His eyes looked at the perspective of Ocean Sky Cloud City, but his heart was thinking about gear. Tian-Si could more or less understand his current mood. She thought for a bit and added some gossip she had heard through hearsay. I heard that Professor Pan specifically made a design for this. The wetlands of the Academy can be seen with the naked eye from the high-level observation deck of Ocean Sky Cloud City. This includes gear on the North Shore. It was garish, but upon careful inspection, one would see that there were all sorts of beetles engraved on it. Perhaps it was because the necktie was tinted, but under the illumination of the light, a faint metallic luster seeped through it. The beetle's compound eyes flashed with light, brimming with a treacherous and unconventional color. The sunglasses man felt Zhu Maoxuan's gaze, and he slightly tilted his head. His eyes seemed to have shifted over. Zhu Maoxuan foolishly looked over and locked gazes with this eccentric fellow. The latter cracked open his mouth and faintly smiled, revealing a mouthful of pitch-black teeth that were branded with dazzling five-colored patterns. Ding! The elevator door opened, and Zhu Maoxuan and his party walked out. The elevator door immediately closed. The group of people at the elevator door looked around in a daze. Where are those two? 124, they're not on this floor. Then why did they come down? Because. Chapter 296. Luo Nan's elevator stopped at the 133rd floor. Everyone else went down, leaving only Luo Nan and Tian-Si. The number of floors rapidly jumped up. It looked like the elevator was going to be silent all the way until he suddenly spoke. What kind of person is Professor Pan? Half of Tian-Si's mind was still hooked by the berserk devil ray, and some of it was on Zhu Maoxuan's side. She was stupefied for a few seconds upon hearing Luo Nan's words. Only when the elevator stopped and the metal door opened did she wake up from her reverie. She was about to speak, but Luo Nan had already stepped out of the door. She could only hurry to keep up. She was completely brought along by his rhythm, like a secretary accepting an inquiry from her boss. Tian-Si suppressed the strange feeling in her heart and responded, Professor Pan Wen is a first-rate design theorist in the world. At least half of the reputation of our design institute is supported by her. Tian-Si knew very well what Luo Nan was truly concerned about. She paused for a moment before continuing. Senior sister Qingwen was personally taught by Professor Pan when she was at the Design Institute. I asked a few of my senior brothers and sisters who stayed at the school. They all said that Professor Pan loved senior sister Qingwen like a daughter back in the day. She's a very amiable old lady, even if she doesn't care about academics. She will certainly be very happy if you pay a visit. Luo Nan said solemnly, I will certainly pay a visit. That's fine. I can help you introduce her. Luo Nan didn't care how many thoughts were contained within Tian-Si's words. He seriously memorized Professor Pan Wen's contact information. The two passed through the walkway and entered the open-air viewing platform. They were already 700 meters in height. The buildings in the Pingjiang district were generally short. Aside from the main building of Cloud City, there was a vast expanse as far as the eye could see. Tian-Si said that they could see the wetlands and jungles of the school from here. Dusk had arrived, and the weather had turned cold. Strong winds howled from high up in the sky, causing the protective glass at the edge of the platform to buzz. There was also the sound of water beneath the sound of the wind. The peak of the central crystal pillar is the 142nd floor. Tian-Si pointed at the raised frame structure in the center of the platform. The frame was both a support and a separation. A vast body of water with a diameter of nearly 50 meters was cut out. This body of water rose to a height of approximately 2 meters, and it was surrounded by protective glass. This is the rather famous Heavenly Ocean Lake. It looks like a part of the crystal pillar, but the two are actually separate. The bottom of the lake is separated by reinforced glass. So, it's just a swimming pool. It's just a gimmick that the operator modified. The two needed to pass by the edge of the frame structure of the Heavenly Ocean Lake. Luo Nan only shot a glance at this gimmick. He wasn't interested. The current time was just before most of the salaried workers got off work. The sky was getting dark, and there weren't many people on the viewing platform, making it seem a little deserted. Luo Nan identified his direction a bit and walked to the edge of the viewing platform. He cast his gaze in the direction of the academy. He did see the wetland forest of the academy, and the outline was still clear. There was also the long river that passed through the forest, winding in and out, reflecting the light of the setting sun, appearing and disappearing at times. Luo Nan was able to determine the specific location of Gear by relying on the silhouette of the forest and the river. But now, the sky was gradually darkening. Separated by a distance of more than 10 kilometers, that single building was really like a small component, lost in the shadows of the boundless jungle, difficult to find. Luo Nan still wanted to give it a try. He believed that Tian-Si wouldn't lie about this matter. He wanted to use his spiritual sense, but in this situation, his spiritual clairvoyance, which had always been successful, didn't seem to be as far as his vision. It's too late. My field of view is limited. But there are viewing mirrors here. I should be able to see. Tian-Si pointed to a row of high-powered viewing binoculars at the edge. These were specially prepared for tourists, and there were only 2 or 3 people using them right now. Luo Nan didn't say a word. He walked forward, moved his head to take a look, and then stood up straight. Tian-Si carefully observed, "Is it not okay?" Luo Nan shook his head. The oppressive world he saw through the limited field of view through the binoculars was absolutely not the feeling he needed. He stood stupidly at the edge of the viewing platform for 7 or 8 seconds. Then he suddenly spoke without any warning, "Coupling design. What in the world is this?" He had a general understanding of the definition of coupling. It referred to the interaction and linkage phenomenon between various systems. But what did it specifically refer to in his mother's architectural theory? Tian-Si had to answer this question. She grew all the more cautious and cautious. She thought over and over before saying, "The Design Institute has a relatively unified view. It is a new interpretation of the classical Eastern philosophy of man and nature are one. And the practical train of thought is in the same vein as green buildings that borrow solar energy, water energy, wind energy, and other natural energy sources." Luo Nan furrowed his brows. Tian-Si immediately increased her tone, "But from what I can see, Senior Sister Qingwen's core idea should be that she hopes to use the orderly architectural layout created by humans to carry out an effective influence on the grand natural system. And the level involved in this influence method is incomparable to green buildings in the traditional sense. Professor Pan has an evaluation of this called the Eye of Heaven and Earth. It's a mystery within a mystery." Tian-Si spoke very vaguely. She was far from researching coupling design theory thoroughly. She just picked out a nice evaluation from her predecessors to appease Luo Nan. Luo Nan was well aware of this. He pursed his lips and didn't respond. He had a rough idea, but he wasn't sure. He didn't want to say it to Tian-Si. It was this feeling that seemed clear but wasn't clear that stimulated Luo Nan's heart. It made him impatient to tear down the bewildering barrier. No matter what the answer was, it possessed incomparable value from his perspective. He took another step forward. The tip of his nose pressed against the protective glass wall of the viewing platform. He strove to look into the distance. Unfortunately, this step was meaningless when compared to the distance of a dozen kilometers. What he saw before his eyes was still only a rough outline. There was still no trace of the element belonging to gear. His field of vision had already expanded to its limits, but the precision of his resolution was still a bit lacking. As for the mental plane, he was barely able to probe forward in the void. He was still far from it. In this way, his gaze could see, his mental senses could be sensed. 2 domains, 2 planes. He was unable to find a precise target. He was tangled up quite fiercely, and his mind was in chaos. Luo Nan knocked his forehead against the glass. He wanted to calm his emotions. Then his wristband received a call at this time. It continued to vibrate. He wanted to turn it off, but he glanced at it before he could do so. The name that entered his eyes stunned him. Zhang Yingying. Luo Nan had nearly forgotten that he still had the number of a fellow member of the society in his hands. It had been a long time since he last contacted this person. It was said that Zhang Yingying had gone into seclusion. She had hopes of advancing her white rainbow to the next level. It must be said that Luo Nan really wasn't in the mood to deal with Zhang Yingying right now. However, Zhang Yingying had specifically changed channels to contact him during the maintenance of the psychic wave network. He feared that something had happened. In the end, he still connected. He was just about to open his mouth to greet her when the other side gave him a barrage of words. Where are you? Are you at school? Luo Nan was stupefied for a moment before he responded. Something the matter? I'm not at school. I'm at Cloud City Water Village. You're not there. Excellent. Wait a minute. Cloud City Water Village isn't that far away. Zhang Yingying's voice rose in pitch. She immediately asked, what about Shuelei? Is Shuelei with you? Though the distance was a bit far, it still counted. Luo Nan gave a vague response. Zhang Yingying clearly let out a sigh of relief. What kind of mode did you set up? The secretary asked me for your number, but she couldn't get through. In the end, she even asked me to tell her. When will you let people be a bit less worried? Luo Nan sweated a bit. He had listened to He Yuan's advice to concentrate on cultivation and had modified the settings of the Heir. He had also conveniently set the wristband's communication to restricted mode. He only allowed contacts who had already been recorded to enter. He never thought that a problem would crop up. Zhang Yingying grumbled a few words, and her tone deliberately turned serious. Listen carefully. I'm just passing on the secretary's words. What's wrong? Trouble's coming. I don't know what the investigation team from headquarters heard, or maybe someone misled them. Right now, they are completely convinced that you are a key figure in the Frost River reality incident and that you know a few secrets. They want to dig out information from you and summon you for interrogation. Interrogation. They want to interrogate me. Luo Nan's mood was originally very anxious. He couldn't help but laugh when he heard this. What kind of play was this? It's the usual style of headquarters bureaucrats. There's nothing strange about it. Zhang Yingying's words were filled with disdain. She immediately snorted and said, of course President Ouyang refuted this unreasonable request. But this group of people won't give up. They used the high-level privileges in their hands to create a malfunction, forcing the psychic wave network to disconnect for maintenance. President Ouyang just let them mess around. Shut up and listen to me. Time difference. Do you understand time difference? You're a rookie who hasn't even passed basic training. You probably won't even know what's going on when you encounter those guys who are proficient in torture and interrogation. Then you'll pour out everything in your belly. Luo Nan asked curiously, hold on. You're saying that they've already come to find me? At school? Nonsense. Otherwise, why would we have called you in such a hurry? Right now headquarters has already sent people out. There might be reinforcements here in Xia City as well. For this group of people, as long as they don't take your little life, then even if their methods are too extreme and produce some minor repercussions, President Ouyang and our boss won't be able to kill them. Naturally, they'll be unscrupulous. Zhang Yingying spoke faster and faster. On the contrary, as long as you're under the protection of the branch, they won't dare to act forcefully in order to avoid things getting out of hand. Right now the psychic wave network is disconnected, and the branch is in a complete mess. We don't know who can rush over to help you first. Luckily, Shuelei is here. That fellow's abilities are worth trusting. How about this? Find a place with a lot of people and stay with Shuelei. Don't move. It doesn't matter who is looking for you. As long as the secretary doesn't personally confirm it, you absolutely won't go with them. If they really want to play forcefully, then let Shuelei deal a killing blow. You'll be fine after holding on for half an hour at most. What about Shuelei? Let him respond. I'll make some arrangements. He's on the phone over there. Luo Nan. Chapter 297. From Luo Nan's impression, this was the first time Zhang Yingying's anger had reached its peak. He was used to her laughing and joking, completely improper appearance. Her sudden outburst was quite impactful. Luo Nan did not blame Zhang Yingying for her mood. He had received training from the society. Whenever he chatted with Bamboo Pole, Papercut, and the others, he would never hear anything good about headquarters. Luo Nan was very curious about this. How could such an organization retain people? Papercut's answer was resources, strength, and fewer restrictions. But he also admitted that all these benefits were as fragile as bubbles when serious conflicts of interest were involved. Bamboo Pole's answer was much more artistic. Not all cities are like Xia City. The environment of Xia City was indeed very good, but it was not a paradise that transcended the world. It was hard to avoid being affected. Recently, the investigation team of headquarters was the kind of trash that wasn't welcomed by chickens and dogs in Xia City. What was truly strange was that the Xia City branch handled things coldly and secretly guarded against them. How did they get the chance to come out and disgust people? Luo Nan was not prepared to bicker with Zhang Yingying. His thoughts spun as he unleashed his own special response. He did not give Shuelei another call. Instead, he directly unleashed his mental senses. He was on the viewing platform, and the location of the party was on the 88th floor. There was a drop of over 50 floors. The straight-line distance between the two was no more than 200 or 300 meters. It was all within the range of his mental senses. Luo Nan easily found Shuelei on the floor where the party was located. He gave him a subtle mental jolt, and Shuelei's martial habits immediately alerted him. Next was communication on the mental plane. Since the communication was one way, and Shuelei was not used to this method, Luo Nan did not go into too many details. But Shuelei was very clear about the seriousness of the situation. He immediately informed Xiao Xinyu and hung up after a few words. He rushed upstairs. Zhang Yingying slapped her thigh when Luo Nan did not immediately respond. Did you understand what I said or not? I've already notified Shuelei. He's coming upstairs right now. You can call him. Zhang Yingying was stupefied. She instantly collected her meaningless emotions and asked, how many floors off? Forget it. I'll ask him. Also, your mental senses have been opened, right? It's 80 meters in diameter. That should be enough. Remember, this is a matter of life and death. No matter what, you have to hold on and keep searching for suspicious targets. Don't hang up the phone. I turned on my communicator. Luo Nan grunted. He listened to the quick conversation between Zhang Yingying and Shuelei. His mental senses silently covered a wide range of a kilometer. The magnificent scene of the Milky Way unfolded in his mind. Starting from the underground space of Ocean Sky Cloud City, there were nearly 170 floors. The life sketches of tens of thousands of creatures lit up layer by layer. Stars filled the sky, dense and numerous. Actually, Luo Nan could ignore the vast majority of these areas. He just needed to search for the areas that his mental senses were unable to penetrate. The speed at which the answer appeared exceeded his expectations. It was the high-speed elevator that he had taken before. The elevator next to it was shrouded in a gloomy, dark fog, and a few stars were faintly discernible. At this time, the suspicious elevator had already reached the 130th floor, which was the office area of a multinational corporation. Someone had pressed the button to open the elevator. It had paused for a while, but it would soon resume its upward state. Luo Nan let out a breath, not too good. Zhang Yingying immediately replied, what happened? There are indeed people coming up, but their strength is unknown. Avoid them. Utilize the advantage of your senses. Don't come face to face with them. If they have sensing abilities and you really can't avoid them, then enter the crowd. Don't give those fellows the chance to make a move. Luo Nan looked around the viewing platform, his lips silently grinning. Right now, there were very few figures on the platform. The so-called crowd certainly didn't exist. Even if it did, he wasn't willing to use innocent people as shields. Finally, he cast his gaze towards the increasingly dusky sky. It would be hard for him to unearth a new secret of gear today no matter what. Speaking of which, he seemed to lack a kind of intuition inherited from his bloodline. This son of his was unqualified. Wasn't that right? This unreasonable thought caused the emotions in his heart to tumble a few more times. He smacked the protective glass heavily, and this action startled Tian-Si. Jr. Luo Nan didn't have the mood to give her an explanation right now. He simply said, "Let's go." Tian-Si was stunned. Luo Nan's current behavior and attitude were extremely odd, but she was smart and didn't plan on saying much. She just gave a soft grunt of agreement, taking on a submissive attitude that said, "I'll let you decide." Zhang Yingying was quite baffled as well. "You're still leading someone. Who is it?" Luo Nan didn't respond. He led Tian-Si toward the elevator area with large strides. Given the speed of the elevator, he could still avoid the unidentified fellow. But halfway there, a new element appeared within the range of his mental senses. Luo Nan's footsteps suddenly stopped. His mental senses were focused on the crystal pillar. This enormous pillar had a diameter of 120 meters. Tens of thousands of marine life were placed within it, but 99% of them were muddle-headed. Their life sketches were also scattered. Chapter 298. Tian-Si didn't understand what Luo Nan said at all. She just saw the crazy security guard fall face first to the ground. The baton slipped from his hand and slid all the way to their feet. She instinctively wanted to pick it up and use it to defend herself, but Luo Nan kicked the baton away the moment she bent down. "Don't delay. Take this elevator and leave first." Luo Nan urged Tian-Si to move faster. Tian-Si hesitated for a moment before walking out from behind Luo Nan. She walked toward the elevator when another ding rang out. A second elevator had arrived. Its location was right next to the previous elevator. Tian-Si took a step forward and was half a step ahead of Luo Nan. She raised her head and saw the same scene from before. Two security guards with the same expression came out of the elevator. One of them was even carrying a riot gun. Tian-Si's vermilion lips parted when she saw the pitch-black muzzle of the gun, but her throat was choked with fear. She was unable to make a sound. She no longer had the chance to hide this time. But it was also because of this that her pupils dilated from fear clearly reflected the entire process of the two crazy security guards' eyes rolling white as they silently fell to the ground. There were no sound or light effects during the entire process. It was like a pantomime. The people on the viewing platform outside didn't notice anything. But the more it was like this, the more bizarre and mysterious elements seeped into the bottom of her heart. Tian-Si subconsciously covered her mouth. Her ice-cold palms felt a bit of warmth from the breath, allowing her to confirm that she was still in the real world. But why? Why did she get involved in a conflict of this level? Luo Nan didn't have the leisure to ponder over a girl's mind. He saw that Tian-Si couldn't move her legs, so he gave her a light push. "Hurry up." Tian-Si bit her lips and took 2 steps forward. However, at this moment, the faint sound of motors suddenly stopped, and the display screens of the entire row of elevators on this side had all turned off. The power was cut off, and the metal doors automatically closed, isolating Tian-Si outside. Whether it was Tian-Si or Luo Nan, they were both stunned for a moment. Half a second later, Luo Nan grinned. It was hard to tell if he was smiling or not. The other side doesn't fight a battle unprepared. A muffled vibration came over just as Luo Nan finished speaking. The two trembled slightly beneath their feet. An earthquake. Tian-Si's first thought was an earthquake that had persisted for over a month. But the second wave of vibration came right after. There was also the sound of crashing water. It clearly came from the direction of Heavenly Ocean Lake. The few tourists on the viewing platform were all extremely shocked. Some stuck their heads in the direction of the swimming pool, while others directly walked over. Tian-Si looked over as well, but Luo Nan pulled her away. Go to the fire escape passageway. Luo Nan no longer paid attention to the defunct elevator. He quickly confirmed the location and walked a few steps quickly. He rushed ahead of the confused Tian-Si, wanting her to keep up. In a trance, Tian-Si took a few steps forward and stepped over the body of the crazy security guard. This time, she didn't trip. Instead, she was more stimulated. When things reach an extreme, they move in the opposite direction. Her mind became much clearer. Remembering something, she stopped and bent down to pick up the anti-riot gun on the ground. Tian Nan said. A foot swept over and brushed past Tian-Si's fingertips, sending the anti-riot gun flying several meters away. Tian-Si's heart instantly spasmed. All her complex and chaotic emotions were squeezed to the point of exploding in this moment. She suddenly stood up straight, and she did not know where the courage came from. She rushed at Luo Nan and shouted. She unconsciously lowered her voice, "You have to use a weapon to defend yourself." Two. Guard down, said Tian. Nan. Tian, for what reason? I just took a course. Non-combatants can't possess weapons of mass destruction in similar situations. Otherwise, I might be the first to suffer. Tian-Si knew that she couldn't get angry, but she couldn't stand having her dignity trampled on. She raised her voice. I've gone through military training. I won't hurt you by accident. Or are you worried that I'll shoot you in the back? Yes, they will when the other party has some sort of controlling ability. Luo Nan raised his wrist slightly after speaking. He asked through his communication wristband, it can control ordinary people. The controlled person's movements are unhindered, and their emotions are strange. What sort of ability is this? Zhang Yingying responded in the first instance. She pointed directly at the owner of this ability. It's Puppeteer. He's a member of the investigation team. He's proficient in high-level hypnosis. His ability is to control life forms with complex emotions. Aside from humans, he can also control wild beasts or mutants with high intelligence, as long as he doesn't suffer a backlash. We can now determine who's in the crystal pillar. Zhang Yingying snorted coldly. Stay away from that stupid woman if you want to live. You should have parted ways from the beginning. Luo Nan indicated for Tian-Si to keep up. He laughed. The other party has made ample preparations. I might not be able to deal with the hostage situation. I might as well keep her by my side and be at ease. You're going to ignore her. Who knows? Why take the risk and try? Zhang Yingying choked. She said resentfully, I'm just afraid that you won't be able to protect her. You'll be threatened all the same. Then it's a matter of ability. Luo Nan used his mental senses to lock onto the two threatening targets while he cautiously observed the situation all around him. His explosive power is strong, and many of his techniques are dipped in poison. Luo Nan's gaze cut across the mass of beetles. That's really bad. Oh right. Is he an activation class? What? Zhang Yingying didn't react for a time. Soul strength activation. It's the type that Papercut excels at. Aren't they divided into the control style and the activation style? I think this move of his is quite similar. Zhang Yingying didn't understand what he meant. She could only say, it's the activation class. But I'm telling you to be careful of his close-range attacks. That's what counters you the most. I know. His body leaned against the half-open door, his back slightly bent. He could react at any time. Tian-Si was a bit hesitant, but before she could speak, a muffled explosion that shook the heart came from the viewing platform. The muffled sound wave was mixed with cries of alarm and screams. A powerful pillar of water sprayed out from the center of Heavenly Ocean Lake. It rushed all the way to the dome above, sweeping away the gorgeous decorations hanging from it. What was even more shocking was the enormous shadow within the pillar of water. It seemed to make a flip while sticking to the dome before falling down heavily. The pool water violently surged out, washing away many of the surrounding furnishings. The tourists who had surrounded the pool to watch the show, driven by curiosity, were swaying left and right. Some even slid into the water, screaming over and over. The viewing platform was a complete mess. "You're quite strong. Why aren't you leaving yet?" The situation before her eyes, as well as Luo Nan's reminder, made the stupefied Tian-Si finally understand the meaningless role she played in this storm. She gritted her teeth, turned around, and rushed down the stairs. Her heels clattered against the ground, and soon, she disappeared without a trace. Puppeteer's methods had caused the viewing platform to be in a state of chaos. Even the beetles in front of the fire escape were in an uproar. It was as if their intelligence had jumped 2 levels in an instant. Most of the beetles flew up, and most of the paper men, who were unable to levitate, were useless. The highly intelligent beetles broke away from the stupid situation and took advantage of the situation to confirm their target. A dozen or so pairs of compound eyes locked onto Luo Nan, who stood at the entrance to the fire escape. They made slight adjustments, and they swarmed over with a buzzing sound. The dense black mass had the style of a horror movie. Luo Nan didn't react in the first instance. His gaze didn't even fall on the bodies of the numerous beetles. Instead, it pierced through the middle and fell on a certain person on the viewing platform. The viewing platform was in a state of chaos due to the magnificent power of the Devil Ray. A crowd of tourists clutched their heads, and some fled. There were a few unlucky people who were still struggling in the water. Only the person Luo Nan's gaze was pointing at was dressed in black clothes with the demeanor of an investigator. He wore a gaudy necktie, and he had one hand in his pocket. He walked over unhurriedly. He was on a completely different line from the others. Though his pace was calm, his speed was actually extremely fast. It was as if he possessed the length contraction technique. This manifested his outstanding body control and coordination. This was the black beetle. Right now, the distance between the two didn't exceed 40 meters. A well-trained ability user could easily discern the target at this distance. Chapter 300. The human-faced arachnid in Luo Nan's hands was not an original type. It was a product of faith developed by the Order of Justice. It was a high-quality imitation version that Luo Nan had personally created. He had created and used it back at Frost River Reality. It was quite easy to order it around. Unfortunately, it was later destroyed by An Wang. Luo Nan had already forgotten about this matter with the passage of time. He never expected that Fairchild would send someone to deliver a small bottle of raw materials for some unknown reason before he went back to report. It was the metal bottle that Luo Nan had just thrown on the ground. Of course, the actual application of the human-faced arachnid still needed to mix in some negative emotions as a catalyst. This was not difficult for Luo Nan. The Wraith sign remained within the Blood Flame order, making it difficult to summon. This imitation human-faced arachnid could more or less serve as a substitute. The human-faced arachnid had locked onto all the threatening targets with Luo Nan's mental senses. The reason why it did not make a move was because Luo Nan had an unreliable feeling through his observations of the life sketches. He was like an experienced sniper who had a premonition of hitting or not hitting the target before pulling the trigger. No matter how bad the premonition was, it was impossible for Luo Nan to hesitate any longer. With a thought, the human-faced arachnid spat out an incorporeal shockwave. The shockwave passed through the insects that lacked the light of intelligence. It penetrated through all the barriers of the human body and bombarded the soul body of Black Beetle, who was closing in endlessly. A visible tremor appeared on Black Beetle's body as soon as the attack hit. His advancing figure turned slightly sluggish, but that was all. He was just stunned for a moment. His head tilted slightly, and his gaze behind his sunglasses seemed to be able to penetrate the structure of the building to land on Luo Nan. All right, Zhang Yingying's jinx had come true. His long-range attack really did not have any effect. Speaking of which, this was not a rare thing. Luo Nan had seen many problems with the siege hammer being ineffective. The human-faced arachnid had wreaked havoc in Xia City for nearly a month. Everyone gradually became aware of the methods it specialized in. Every power revolved around its existence, and the Order of Justice was able to create a faith product. How could they not allow others to create similar mental defenses? Luo Nan was just stunned. He did not feel depressed or flustered. He had already reached the 141st floor. He hesitated for a moment in the stairwell before walking out of the fire escape passageway. There was no one else on this floor. Inside the building, 99% of the lighting in the public area revolved around the crystal pillar, emitting a dreamy blue light. Luo Nan's gaze swept over as well. The waves had yet to calm down, but the magnitude of the tremors was decreasing. The Devil Ray's silhouette was nowhere to be seen. Thoughts spun in his mind, but his feet did not stop. He walked straight along the edge of the crystal pillar and quickly walked toward the elevator in the central area. This series of actions was very exhausting, and his breathing was slightly ragged. Just as he reached the middle section of the crystal pillar, 2 loud thumps came from the stairwell behind him. The doors above and below opened one after another in just 2 seconds. Black Beetle, dressed in formal attire, walked out with large strides and let out a sharp whistle that carried a hint of mockery. Luo Nan turned around just in time to officially meet this person face to face. Black Beetle's appearance didn't bring Luo Nan any more pleasant surprises. Luo Nan had long since memorized the details of this person's face clearly through his mental senses. If there was anything different about Ruo Chang, it would probably be the group of beetles flying around him and the 2 paper dolls in his hands. Clearly, it would be very difficult for the 2 paper dolls to be of any use against an ability user like Black Beetle. Black Beetle's feet did not stop. The muscles on his half-covered face trembled, and his lips split open to reveal the pattern of black teeth. Luo Nan was stunned for a moment before he understood that this was Black Beetle's smile. "Kid, this is our first meeting. I made an appointment with you. You're just a lowly piece of trash who vents his anger by cursing over the phone." Luo Nan spoke very frankly about his impression of Black Beetle. Black Beetle's face instantly emitted a layer of green energy when his self-introduction was stuck. The pattern on his black teeth moved back and forth, and at the same time, he exerted more strength in his fingers. The 2 paper dolls, who were already on the verge of death, were kneaded back and forth. Soon, they were deformed. In the end, they turned into specks of dust that drifted down from between his fingers. Luo Nan's eyes jumped. A small portion of his 10 days of hard work was gone just like that. Black Beetle noticed where Luo Nan's gaze was directed at and clapped his hands, knocking off the last of the paper. His eyes behind his sunglasses looked straight at Luo Nan. "Your mouth is a lot sharper, but..." Activation class. "Didn't they say that there's a problem with your interference power? That your progress has stagnated? Those people who deal with intelligence must be joking around." Luo Nan didn't say anything. His field of vision covered Black Beetle as well as his own kind that fluttered around him. The heart lantern of the eye's orifice and his mental senses worked in sync. From beginning to end, Luo Nan analyzed and made predictions. Luo Nan was still moving backward while his mind was focused on observing. He was facing Black Beetle. He walked backward, but his speed was not slow. What should have been a comical action was done very calmly and beautifully. This was the result of his body's coordination. Luo Nan definitely wouldn't have been able to do such an action 10 days ago. The wonders of cultivating in the eye's orifice lay in this. It wasn't simply training the eyes. It was a kind of cultivation that encompassed the entire body. According to Jim Master Show, this was the beginning of a lifetime of cultivation. It played the role of summarizing the essentials. Luo Nan's strength, speed, and other hard indicators might not have made much progress over the past 10 days through targeted practice, but all of his abilities related to integration, coordination, and control had clearly increased. Even Black Beetle raised an eyebrow when he saw this scene. You've spent quite a bit of effort in training that robotic woman. Is it because you've licked her to your heart's content? Black Beetle's words were far from the main topic, and they were even more unbearable to the ears. Luo Nan's eyelids twitched, but his rhythm of observation and retreat was not disrupted. There was only a distance of 10 meters left between him and the edge of the central crystal pillar. He just needed to make a turn there, and he would reach the elevator area. Black Beetle twisted his neck. His footsteps seemed slow, but they were actually fast. He strode in close pursuit. What are you running for? Do you still remember what I said? We're going to play slowly. My words must be true. My actions must be resolute. This has always been my motto. No matter how Black Beetle provoked, probed, and mocked him, Luo Nan made up his mind not to say a word. He knew that the real show had yet to begin. He was happy to see this situation. Shuai Lei had already broken through the threshold of the 130th floor. There was only a straight line distance of 40 to 50 meters left. However, the difficulty of climbing a building and running were different in the end. Plus, the difference in speed between Luo Nan and Black Beetle was very clear. Black Beetle took a few steps, and the distance between the two closed to around 30 meters. Luo Nan blinked, and his eyelids drooped down. The scene before his eyes turned a bit fuzzy. Black Beetle's method of advancing looked ordinary, but it was actually full of tricks and changes. Any tiny movement of his shoulders, hips, waist, and spine could be seen as a prelude to some change. Plus, his exuberant aura of life and his self-formed self-logic obscured the details of the life sketches from beginning to end. This brought great trouble to Luo Nan's analysis and judgment. Luo Nan's spiderweb became even more complex because of Black Beetle's existence. The consumption of energy increased endlessly. Black Beetle's voice cut in at the right time. It was indescribably sinister. Are you sure you want to continue running? It's true that intelligence is often funny, but there are times when it's useful. I know that you have an outstanding range of mental senses. You have decent mental attack techniques, and you even have the ability to activate your class. But, your body and soul are out of balance, and your body is reaching its limits. This information isn't wrong, right? Kid, do you feel your fingers go numb, your entire body is burning, and your body is aching? Luo Nan's eyelids twitched. It wasn't just because of the provocation from Black Beetle's words. It was also because the distance between him and Black Beetle had already entered the threshold of 20 meters. For an ability user, Black Beetle could practically reach Luo Nan in a single pounce. Black Beetle's words grew all the more unhurried, but the pressure of his movements continued to increase. Your 3 axes are right there. Everyone can see it. Have you ever learned the analysis of the factors that determine victory and defeat? How to calculate the factors that determine victory and defeat, advantages and disadvantages? Actually, you don't need to lick that robotic woman. I, Uncle Bug, can teach you step by step right now. Oh, your eyes. It's your eyes, right? Your blood vessels are about to burst. At this very moment, Luo Nan's half-squinted eyes were already glistening with a bright red color. It was just as Black Beetle had said. The blood vessels around his eyes were about to burst. The heart lantern of the eye's orifice was used with mental senses. The results were excellent. The trajectory of activity on the material plane. The source of control on the mental plane. the structure of energy and information that interfered with each other. The elements of different planes corresponded and appeared. They affected and interfered with each other. Only by using a united method could everything be displayed in the most comprehensive manner. It was quite helpful in increasing the progress of cultivating in the eye's orifice. This point had already been displayed when he was watching the fish at the party. But Luo Nan's current cultivation situation could tell that there were hidden dangers in this close relationship. He had felt a sense of crisis for many days, but who would care about these things at this critical juncture? Now, after a round of cultivation, the hidden dangers began to reveal themselves. The most direct and fatal point was the limits of what his body could bear. Black Beetle believed that the time was right. He let out a strange chuckle from his throat. We can keep playing, or we can be honest with each other. Why don't you tell me what you saw in the logic world? The question that came out of nowhere made Luo Nan, who was suffering from the limits of his eyes, feel his heart thump heavily. How many people knew about such a secretive matter? How did the news leak out? Black Beetle grasped an opportunity during Luo Nan's moment of distraction. How could he expect Luo Nan to spit it out? Black Beetle had used a series of oppressive words and actions for the sake of obtaining this opportunity to strike. Black Beetle's figure suddenly blurred, and he flashed out from the swarm of beetles surrounding his body. Even Zhang Yingying would praise him for his explosive power. He instantly crossed a distance of nearly 20 meters and clawed at Luo Nan's face. Black Beetle saw that Luo Nan was only an arm's length away, but an attack assaulted him on the mental plane. He's exhausted his limited abilities. Black Beetle had long since anticipated Luo Nan's response. There were only a few methods this kid could use at his current stage, no matter how one looked at it. Black Beetle had long since made his preparations to take on Luo Nan. He had specially cast a protective spell before taking action. It could withstand at least 5 similar waves of attacks. Black Beetle deliberately stared at Luo Nan's eyes. He hoped that the fear and despair in this kid's heart would spurt out along with the high-pressure burst of blood. Black Beetle would use the Heir to capture this marvelous scene. He would give it to the robotic woman, to all the old friends who flattered and coaxed this kid, but had forgotten about him. In the next moment, the attack on the mental plane touched the protective net formed by Luo Nan's incantation. Black Beetle saw his wish come true. Blood seeped out from the corner of Luo Nan's eyes. Black Beetle's lips parted, and he welcomed all of this with a smile. Oh, wait a moment. His thoroughly tempered psychic senses sensed something strange. The mental attack came over, but there were no intertwining changes between the attack and the buffer as he had expected. It was empty. But there was a strand of gentle wind. There was even an even more formless beam of light that was cast inside. The wind passed through the gap, illuminating the earth. Chapter 301. Black Beetle could be considered a mentally enhanced ability user. Even though he didn't have much talent in the field of sensing and observation, he had basic common sense. If his own sensing and observation could reach the standard of being transparent and bright, being unobstructed and unobstructed, then it would naturally be excellent. The problem was that when he became the target of sensing and observation, his entire body would be leaking wind and rain. His body and mind would be exposed to the finest details. That would drive him crazy. This was what Black Beetle was feeling right now. From a realistic and understandable level, Luo Nan's face was between his palms and fingers. He just needed to reach out a little and he would be able to tear the kid's face off. But when that feeling of being unobstructed and unobstructed appeared, he felt as if his body was leaking wind from all sides. An unsuppressible feeling of weakness instantly flooded his entire body. What was going on? It was hard for Black Beetle to figure out this sudden and unforeseen event in a short amount of time. He could only see Luo Nan's eyes oozing blood through the gaps between his palms and fingers. Luo Nan's pupils were slightly dilated, unfocused, motionless, and somewhat lifeless. Just as this judgment arose in Black Beetle's mind, Luo Nan's eyeballs moved. The scattered rays of light faintly converged, and there was a bit of weak light that connected with Black Beetle's line of sight. The glimmering light was like a needle. The penetrating force was like silk. This tiny force of the needle would only cause a bit of pain if it pierced into the thick skin and flesh. But if it pierced into the eyeball, the heart, or the brain, then the result would certainly be different. This was what Black Beetle sensed. The state of being riddled with holes was unable to provide any protection, and the force of the needle was unimpeded. It pierced through and stirred at his weakest and most fatal location. In an instant, the pain was like thunder, exploding in his brain. It then rapidly spread out, unable to be controlled. Black Beetle howled in pain. His eyeballs nearly popped out of his eye sockets. Black and red crisscrossed in his field of vision. His senses were in chaos. Fear flooded his heart instinctively, but his many years of fighting experience still drove him. He summoned his remaining courage and did his utmost to reach out with his hand. He intended to take down the mischievous kid in one fell swoop. He was only a fist's distance away. His fingernails, coated with poison, only grabbed air. Black Beetle's figure continued to charge forward after his attack missed. Only now did he remember that he was in the midst of a high-speed assault. His senses were in error, and his nervous system was under stress. It completely messed up the balance of his body. F***ck. His fingers slid diagonally across the hard wall, and then his wrist bones hit the edge of the wall. Next, his head and body collided. Black Beetle's entire body was smashed into the wall of the elevator area. Under the impact of the intense pain, his body's reaction was completely ineffective. He had truly smashed into the wall without the slightest bit of cushioning. Then, he slid to the ground, the sunglasses covering his face broken. It was only then that the pain in his head showed signs of subsiding. However, the lingering pain in his fingertips, wrists, head, and torso continued. Compared to the previous wave, the degree of pain was nothing. However, the humiliation of slapping the wall and falling to the ground was like acid splashing into his chest and splashing all over his face. "I'll kill you!" Black Beetle let out a roar, and at the same time, he pulled off his already deformed sunglasses and crushed them with his palm. He ignored his chaotic vision and his terrible sense of balance. He supported himself against the wall and struggled to stand up. He waved his arms in a venting manner and controlled the beetles to fly in all directions. But everything he did was useless. He couldn't even touch a hair on Luo Nan's head. No. He needed to calm down. He needed to calm down. Black Beetle's successive attacks failed, and his emotions of fury and fear interweaved and fluctuated. Finally, there was a trough, and Black Beetle seized it. He calmed his mind with all his might, trying to break free from his current terrible state. He leaned against the wall and tried to call out to his temporary partner, "Puppeteer, Puppeteer. F***ck." Before Puppeteer could respond, the piercing feeling came again. But this time, it didn't bring about intense pain. Instead, it brought about a sound of unknown origin. No, it was telepathy. Black Beetle smashed his hand against the wall. His heart was filled with resentment, but it was also hard for him to escape from fear. Powerhouses with formidable soul strength and proficient in corresponding techniques could indeed transmit telepathic thoughts to others. But most of the time, it was done in a state of peace. In a true battle of life and death, both sides would be mentally tense and highly vigilant. This sort of one-sided telepathic infusion would certainly suffer powerful interference. It was practically impossible to guarantee the completeness and accuracy of the information. But now, the sound that rang in Black Beetle's mind, aside from the initial noise, grew clearer and clearer. Factor analysis. I've learned it before. Luo Nan's telepathic expression continued the topic they had been discussing before. It was the analysis of the factors of victory and defeat. Black Beetle had undoubtedly brought this up to ridicule Luo Nan and throw his mind into chaos. And now, Luo Nan had reversed the topic and stuffed it into Black Beetle's mind bit by bit. My analysis of the factors of victory and superiority is different from yours. Look. What I see, you can't see. What I know, you don't know. What I control, you can't compare. What I am at, you can't reach. In the end, I came to a conclusion. My advantage lies outside of your poor imagination. The rough and tidy sentences and information revealed the jerkiness of being pieced together at the last minute. But the poisonous and spicy ridicule followed Luo Nan's telepathic thoughts and seeped in layer by layer until it was branded into an imprint. Crack. Black Beetle crushed a molar from his teeth. In the next moment, his emotion sputtered out along with the crushed teeth and the glow of blood. F***ck your ancestors. Black Beetle cursed crudely. His boiling energy and blood were unable to drown out the bone-chilling current in Black Beetle's mind. He knew very well that Luo Nan's telepathic thoughts weren't powerful. They were just strands. But it was hard for Black Beetle to interfere with Luo Nan's telepathic thoughts no matter what methods he used to defend. This strand of telepathic thoughts could come and go as they pleased. It wantonly painted and engraved marks on his mental plane. It was as if it had entered an uninhabited realm. It was a perfect match with the feeling of being transparent and bright, unobstructed and unobstructed. Black Beetle was unable to suppress his fear and shame. They were like two steel blades. One blade stabbed in, and the other pulled out. They took turns stabbing and chopping, shredding his dignity beyond recognition. If Luo Nan exerted just a bit more force, just a bit more, ding. The sound of the elevator's arrival rang out in his ear. Black Beetle's vision, which had gone haywire due to the intense pain, had recovered somewhat. He was in a trance, and an afterimage flashed past the corner of his eyes. Soon, the elevator door closed once more. Luo Nan didn't make a sound at this time. A series of changes in the details were like a foreshadowing thread. It was abruptly raised, causing Black Beetle's mind to tremble. A certain thought emerged in his mind. If that kid could really finish me off so easily, why would he fight to the point of having his eyes bleed? Why would he spout so much nonsense? Black Beetle didn't have the time to think about what would happen next. He staggered half a step and turned to look at the elevator. But all he saw was the high-speed elevator door closing, and the box had already gone down. Black Beetle's somewhat blurry vision looked all around. He could see the spacious elevator area. He could see the space of the building, but where was Luo Nan's shadow? Yes. Add a bit more force. There's a problem with that kid's interference ability. It's fine if it's a pure mental attack, but it's a method that directly penetrates and affects the structure of body and soul. Luo Nan shouldn't be able to exert any force at all. F***ck me. Black Beetle cursed loudly once more. He struck the elevator door heavily, but all he did was smash a dent in the metal baffle. The elevator's floor display had already begun to change. Black Beetle no longer hesitated. He shook his head forcefully, locking onto the fire escape passageway outside the corridor. He rushed over with a few steps, smashed open the door to the stairwell, and jumped down through the narrow gap in the stairs. At the same time, he contacted his companion once more. "You're a wire manipulator. If you're not dead, say something." Hiss. "That kid is too sneaky. I nearly choked to death in the water. I nearly lost the person in my hands." Puppeteer's curses finally came back. Snake Tongue's protective spell isn't worth a fart. This is his last resort. Black Beetle gritted his teeth and said, "He's out of strength. He's running away. He won't be able to hold on for long. Keep an eye on the elevator. Number 15. I'm keeping an eye. It stopped. Floor 133. Within the crystal pillar, the devil ray ran side by side with the high-speed elevator. Black Beetle wasn't bad either. He borrowed strength from his elbow a few times, and his body flipped over. He accurately stopped at the stairwell of the 133rd floor, then he smashed through the door and exited. A white-collar worker just so happened to be waiting in front of elevator number 15 in the elevator. He was the one who had interrupted the elevator's descent. This white-collar worker was startled by Black Beetle, who suddenly rushed out from the fire escape passageway. He turned his head, and Black Beetle rushed in front of him like a phantom. Black Beetle extended a hand to press down on the white-collar worker's head, fiercely smashing him against the metal door. The white-collar worker's head immediately bled, and he fainted. Thanks for your help. Black Beetle spat out these words without any sincerity, and his mouth cracked open. His expression grew more and more malevolent, and the aura on his body nearly ignited. The necktie around his neck was like a living snake as it slithered out of the collar of his suit. A certain beetle pattern inexplicably squirmed and protruded on it. It turned into a real beetle and crawled along the necktie. All Black Beetle needed to do was wrap the necktie around Luo Nan and stuff the venomous bug down Luo Nan's throat. Who cared if Luo Nan lived or died? The elevator was controlled by an automatic program. It didn't care about the situation outside at all. The elevator door automatically opened after it reached its destination. Black Beetle's body leaned forward, and he was about to make his move. However, the elevator was completely empty. There wasn't a single shadow to be seen. No, there was still a paperman. This palm-sized work of art came from the same school as the other two that Black Beetle had crushed to pieces. It was also fearless and fearless. After pressing the elevator button, it stood upright on the wooden floor of the elevator, assuming a fish stance. Fuck you. The string of reason in Black Beetle's mind snapped just like that. He simply extended his palm. He ignored the pain in his palm and forcefully crushed the paperman to pieces. He didn't go down. He went back to the viewing platform. The devil ray rapidly floated up from the crystal pillar behind Black Beetle. Puppeteer gestured to Black Beetle through the protective glass, indicating for him to go up. This was an extremely normal action, but it was an absolute mockery from Black Beetle's perspective. He still hadn't truly figured out what was going on even now. He just knew that he had been played by Luo Nan once again. It was just like how Luo Nan had left an imprint on the mental plane with strands of telepathy. What I see, you can't see. What I know, you don't know. What I control, you can't compare. Where I am, you can't reach it. Aw, 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 aw. Chapter 302. The viewing platform had been bustling with noise and excitement. The tourists at the scene were in a state of chaos due to the devil ray breaking through the heavenly ocean lake. Some left, some alerted the police, and some joined in the fun. But by the time Luo Nan climbed onto the viewing platform once more, all sounds on the platform had been cut off. Several dozen people were lying on various parts of the platform, unconscious. There was no need to doubt that Luo Nan himself was the one who did this. According to the knowledge he had recently learned, clearing the scene before a clash between ability users was a necessary job. A complex and ever-changing scene would cause extra trouble. Of course, there were people who would deliberately create a chaotic situation in order to gain benefits. But Luo Nan estimated that he might not be able to be ruthless in a critical moment. He might as well do things more straightforwardly. He did not forget that there was a puppeteer on the other side, a puppeteer who could control intelligent life forms from afar. If they were to fight again, any clear-headed personnel could create obstacles for him. Luo Nan considered himself to be a rookie when it came to fighting. He had to carry out the experience imparted to him by his seniors in a meticulous manner. However, a certain experienced senior had already been completely stunned by the series of movements he had made earlier. "How did you do it? How did you do it? How did you do it?" Zhang Yingying smacked the steering wheel in excitement. The sharp honking sound was deafening even to Luo Nan's ears. Zhang Yingying had a belly full of words to say during the confrontation between Luo Nan and Black Beetle. She wanted to curse at Black Beetle, but she also wanted to comfort and remind Luo Nan. But she knew very well that Luo Nan was facing an absolutely disadvantageous match. In this life and death juncture, any unforeseen event could lead to a calamity. She could only suppress her worry and force herself to shut her mouth. She even had to worry about Shuelei. She didn't want her good intentions to do bad things and disturb Luo Nan's fight against the enemy. This conflict was more torturous than when she was fighting against a powerful enemy. She could no longer hold it in when the overall situation was decided. She let her belly full of depression explode. Zhang Yingying's pleasant surprise also spurred on Shuelei, who was climbing the stairs with great difficulty. He took a few deep breaths and praised, "Nanster, beautifully done. Leave the rest to me. I'll be right there." Luo Nan strolled along the edge of the viewing platform and laughed, "There's plenty of time. Slow down a bit. Don't get beaten up before you can even stand firm." Phew, don't worry. No problem." Shuelei was worried that he would affect Luo Nan unfavorably just now. He rushed upwards with all his might, and he even had to hold his breath. Even though he had already obtained the talisman and connected the inside and the outside, he was still quite tired. Of course, Luo Nan was fine. That was stronger than anything else. It didn't take long for Shuelei to adjust his state of mind when he was relaxed. Hey, Luo, I'm asking you too." Although Zhang Yingying was complaining, her excitement did not diminish at all. She still blasted the car horn loudly. "Tell me, how did you make the bug so miserable? That guy is an egomaniac, yes, but he is definitely not a fool." Luo Nan was able to feel the pure joy from the bottom of Zhang Yingying's heart. Black Beetle could be considered an old acquaintance of hers, but Zhang Yingying stood firmly by his side at this moment. Her position was clear and unwavering. Luo Nan enjoyed this sense of recognition. He thought for a moment and replied seriously, "Correct your mentality, use your advantage, and kill them with one strike." "Unfortunately, there's still a problem with my interference ability. I can only buy some time. Kill them with one strike." Crag Burst must have taught you this, right? Yes, Luo Nan admitted. It was strange to say that the classes he took these past few days, whether it was Yuan, bamboo pole, or papercut, all leaned towards the level of knowledge and technique. They rarely touched upon strategies to deal with the enemy. Crag Burst's teaching plan was delayed due to the problem with Luo Nan's interference ability. Crag Burst had a belly full of energy. He contacted Luo Nan a few times, but every long conversation revolved around actual combat. He imparted some practical experience to Luo Nan. Crag Burst told Luo Nan that one's mentality was the most important when dealing with an enemy. It didn't matter if one was calm or hot-blooded. One must find the most suitable mentality for oneself. It might not be the most effective or the most thorough, but it was definitely the most stable. It could withstand even more variables. In short, this was an unshakable conviction. It could only be established upon the greatest, the most irreplaceable advantage. To put it in extreme terms, a person who possessed this mentality would think like this: enemies can defeat me, but they will never be able to defeat what I am good at. Luo Nan used this principle to first confirm his own domain of advantage. Hey. You really are stupid and bold. Crag Burst and you aren't the same type, okay? Zhang Yingying had a deep understanding of Kragburst's temperament. The more Kragburst thought so, the more she found it hard to believe. Luonan, you're a mage. Can your small body handle playing with a warrior's conviction is my life? Also, your advantages. Mental senses, attacks, and so on. Are they useful? Why must it be these things? Luonan felt a bit helpless. Whether it was Zhang Yingying or Black Beetle, they both wholeheartedly attributed Luonan's advantages to the range of his senses and mental attacks. But Luonan never believed this. There were many powerful people in the world. No matter how outstanding Luonan's mental senses were, no matter how fierce the human-faced arachnid siege hammer was, there would certainly be people who were stronger than him in terms of the precision and range of his senses and the intensity of his mental attacks. They might even be much stronger than him. This kind of superficial advantage would sooner or later be directly destroyed by others. His advantages could only be established upon a certain irreplaceable and unique element. You still have cards up your sleeve. Zhang Yingying was a bit skeptical. She felt that she had a better understanding of Luonan. She really couldn't imagine what kind of cards Luonan could play in a short amount of time to play with Black Beetle until he wanted to die. I heard that you're learning under teacher Shuelei. To be able to teach a disciple like Shuelei, you must be an extraordinary person. But it's only been a few days. Hey, Shuelei, kid. What kind of quick mastery did your master teach you? Shuelei had already caught his breath during the time Luonan and Zhang Yingying were conversing. His breathing became much smoother. He answered, it's the heart lantern of the eye's orifice. But this isn't a quick mastery technique. It's a technique for the eyes. How could it be? Oh my. Zhang Yingying came to a realization at nearly the same time. She didn't have the time to ask Luonan about the profoundness of victory. She spoke in an urgent tone. Black Beetle said that the blood vessels in your eyes exploded. Did you use some sort of forbidden move? How are you now? I'm fine. Luonan used his knuckles to lightly rub the corners of his eyes. The pain in his eyes was still there. The blood was still flowing out, but it was a bit lighter. The more he played it down, the more Zhang Yingying didn't dare to treat it lightly. Luonan smashed his car horn again, but his excitement and joy had faded away. All that was left was annoyance and worry. A kid will always be a kid. His eyes. How can you mess around in this place? Hey, didn't your teacher warn you when he passed on his skills? Shuelei was gloomy. The heart lantern of the eye's orifice is a technique of grinding. It's a gradual method. There's no such thing as a forbidden move. I see you. Shuelei had already pounced to the 140th floor by now. He could see him with his eyes, and he was waving at Luonan. Even if Luonan had to climb the remaining 2 floors, he would still be a step ahead of his 2 enemies. It could be said that Luonan was already in an invincible position. Luonan knew that his eyes were a bit damaged from forcefully integrating the heart lantern of the eye's orifice and the domain of mental senses. He had already surpassed his limits. It would be best for him to close his eyes and rest right now. However, he didn't want things to end like this. Luonan held on to the protective glass at the edge of the platform. His gaze naturally cast far away. The sky grew darker and darker. Cloud City Water Village was the main part of the large living area. There was also the area of Acumen College that was even further away. All of them lit up with lights, separating blurry shadows and silhouettes. This scene was somewhat similar to the Star River scene formed from Luonan's mental senses. It was just that the blurry and turbid areas of the Star River scene were mostly interference formed by the power of ability users. The ones before Luonan's eyes were just pure light that couldn't reach them. Before today, Luo Nan had tried many times to disperse the turbid clouds and dark mist in the Star River scene. He had grasped the various details of the life sketches with greater precision, but he had never been able to achieve it. But just now, Luo Nan had successfully sent a beam of light into the deepest parts of Black Beetle's body and soul structure when he faced Black Beetle. He had drawn the clearest life sketch, and he had seen through all the weaknesses of Black Beetle's life level. Only then was he able to seize the initiative and play with Black Beetle in the palm of his hand. That beam of light originated from, or at least partially originated from, the heart lantern of the eye's orifice. The heart lantern of the eye's orifice was not the cornerstone of Luo Nan's beliefs, but this technique imparted to him by Gym Master Xiao undoubtedly played an extremely crucial role. Normally, the heart lantern took into account the functions of storing and guiding water. It carved out the spiritual orifice of the body and activated Luo Nan's soul strength. And in practical use, it hung in the air, reflecting and foreseeing the dynamic trajectory of the material plane. It complemented Luo Nan's mental senses. When viewing an object or drawing a scene, if one angle was not clear, one could often find new discoveries by switching to a different angle. By comparing the two, one could see even more. It was impossible for an independent mental senses and a pure heart lantern of the eye's orifice to achieve the miraculous effect of wind passing through gaps and light illuminating the earth. But when the two were combined, Luo Nan used his mental senses to form a Star River scene, and he used the heart lantern of the eye's orifice to sweep away the turbid clouds and dark mist. The mental and material planes coupled information, intersecting and positioning, formed a wisp of gentle wind and a beam of light. It saw through the truth hidden beneath the thick and chaotic surface. Yes, coupling. Borrowing this definition really made one's body and mind happy. Luo Nan closed his eyes and then opened them again. The light of his mental senses could already illuminate the life structure of ability users. Could it be that he was unable to illuminate the purely dusky void of the world? At this very moment, Luo Nan used a new and refined clairvoyance method to observe the void. He gazed at the silhouette of the jungle at the edge of the world. The increasingly dusky color of the sky could not obstruct him. The information on the material plane and the mental plane corresponded and connected once more. They rubbed against each other, bursting forth with a marvelous spiritual light. The light was cast into the reservoir of the heart lantern of the eye's orifice. Then it passed through the pupil, passed through the void, passed through the chaotic silhouette of the jungle, and hung above the target. The surface of the lake was like a small mirror amidst the withered leaves of the jungle. On one side was Gear. The exquisite building carried a bit of a rusty color. The long river that pierced through the forest flowed through its other corner. It made a turn at the end of one's field of view, extending into the distance. It was as if it had been washed away by time for many years. When time moved, all things moved. Chapter 303. Luo Nan quietly gazed at the world before him. He remained motionless for a long time. Even when Shuelei flipped onto the viewing platform and called out to him, Luo Nan did not respond. Shuelei was a bit frightened. From his perspective, Luo Nan's face was stained with blood and tears. It was painted into a devilish face. Blood seeped from the corners of Luo Nan's eyes, and Luo Nan's eyes were completely red. Luo Nan should be sent to the hospital immediately. Hey, which one of you two is going to say something? Zhang Yingying, who had been ignored for a long time, slapped the steering wheel. Sister Ying, I think Nanster's state isn't right. Shuelei was flustered. He rushed to ask Zhang Yingying for advice. However, Luo Nan's calm state of mind was very similar to Gym Master Xiao's usual demeanor. Shuelei subconsciously lowered his voice, afraid of disturbing Luo Nan. Before he could receive a response from Zhang Yingying, Luo Nan's voice suddenly rang in his ear. The breath of heaven and earth may not be impossible to find. These words came out of nowhere. Shuai was stunned, but he felt an inexplicable sense of familiarity. He carefully pondered a few times before remembering that this was related to the Gym Master's fate theory. He had spoken of this to Luo Nan some time ago. However, the Gym Master's original intention was to say that the world was vast and the human strength was minuscule. Cultivators needed to constantly work hard and be attentive in all aspects. Only then could they borrow the power of heaven and earth for their own use. What stood out was that the mind was before the energy, and the energy was before the strength. The core of Luo Nan's words seemed to have changed. Shuai did not quite understand Luo Nan's thoughts, but he was worried about Luo Nan's state. He could only ask cautiously, "Nanster. The flow and operation of the river, the existence and destruction of the forest, all have rules. They form their own systems. They can be said to have their own formats. It is these small formats that are like sets of gears naturally formed by the heavens. They are joined together to form the large format of heaven and earth." Luo Nan had already entered a state of mind. He continued speaking, "From the perspective of formatting theory, the heaven and earth format is vast and boundless. It is rich in layers, and it is constantly changing. It is like a production line assembled from complex machines. Millions of gears operate in sequence, transmitting power layer by layer." "Here we go again." Zhang Yingying could not help but groan. Was the scene of Luo Nan talking to himself? Luo Nan was talking to Zhang Yingying. It was like a dream. She never expected that Luo Nan would purposely oppose Zhang Yingying. While Zhang Yingying was grumbling on the other side, Luo Nan suddenly came out from his extreme self-centered state. He sought interaction and posed a question to the two. "The heaven and earth format's production line won't stop working. Under such circumstances, to insert a self-made gear into the production line and make it seamless, how do I do it? The answer is coupling." Luo Nan was like a child striving to show off. He impatiently announced the answer. A smile blossomed on his bloody, tear-stained face. It was extraordinarily bright and splendid. Shuai was stupefied once more. He didn't quite understand Luo Nan's words, but he had never seen Luo Nan have such a bright and clear appearance ever since they became acquainted. Indeed, Luo Nan was extremely delighted. The deeper his observations of gear went, the more he fell head over heels for the mysteries within. This gear building was embedded within the heaven and earth format. Rumbling production lines were added to the mix. They were precise and orderly, seamless, and there wasn't the slightest hint of artificiality. It was as if this was the natural quality of the world. If Luo Nan hadn't grasped the rhythm of heaven and earth breathing, how could this have happened? From this, Luo Nan was able to confirm an earlier guess: his mother's coupling design was closely related to formatting theory. It was like a kind of applied explanation. It demonstrated to the world how to apply formatting theory to the plane of reality. And this tangible achievement belonged to his mother. Formatting theory. Gear. Shuai finally found the key words in Luo Nan's words. He tried to follow the direction of Luo Nan's gaze. Under the dusky sky, Shuai gazed into the distance with his eyesight. He was able to make out the rough outline of the distant forest and the landmark building, but that was it. "Nanster, you can see gear from here." Shuai was skeptical of Luo Nan's eyesight, but he was more worried. The burden of exhausting his eyesight was far too heavy in Luo Nan's current state. "I can see it. It's so beautiful." Luo Nan's voice was fleeting, just like the marvelous scene before his eyes. It was impossible to touch upon the hidden mysteries of gear with the naked eye or mental sensing clairvoyance. Only the two modes of vision and mental sensing could realize information coupling and cross-positioning. Only then could one touch upon the truth behind the surface. One could look at the incorporeal law and order, silently transforming and nurturing in the void of heaven and earth. Luo Nan greedily watched all of this. He couldn't see enough no matter what. Shui Lei stomped his feet anxiously to the side. He was unable to understand the world within Luo Nan's eyes, but he was still able to grasp a thing or two about the energy emanating from Luo Nan's body. From what he understood, the energy of Luo Nan's eye's orifice was far too vigorous. It was like a wildly growing plant. It was a seedling before, but it had become a towering tree in the blink of an eye. Where did this terrifying driving force come from? Was there enough momentum? Her strength was quite heavy, and her fingers had already sunk deep into her delicate skin. The enormous pressure caused her mouth to slightly open, and her vermilion lips to tremble. This scene was bizarre and absurd. Due to the existence of self-protection mechanisms, it was impossible for normal people to use this sort of method to strangle themselves to death. However, this was not necessarily the case in a situation where one was under the control of extraordinary power. Shui Lei gnashed his teeth as he watched. You bunch of people. You guys are members of the society. No one paid attention to him. Puppeteer spoke from above the pool, but he was pointing at Tianxi. His tone was gentle and without any distinguishing features. It was as if he was chatting normally. We've met again after a short separation, beautiful. Do you want to say something? Tianxi's lips trembled. Shui Lei's eyes and ears were sharp, but he could still hear her teeth chattering. She could be considered strong if she didn't have a mental breakdown after such a bizarre and savage method fell on her body. With great difficulty, Tianxi managed to squeeze out a few trembling words from her throat. I've been taking the stairs all this time. Everyone on the viewing platform was stupefied. Only Luo Nan, who had fallen to one knee amidst the pain, laughed in spite of himself, though his laughter was a bit shaky. He didn't turn his head. He just raised an arm. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.